Well, hello Cyberland. My name's Marlin. The channel's Old Fart Hacks, and what we're looking at today is determining how big this hole is, these holes are, because we've got to shrink the new bushings. These are the old ones that came out of some of these. This fixture is what I'm going to use to cut what I need to cut. But anyway, to shrink the new ones down, because the new ones are 12 millimeters on the outside, and the holes here are not 12 millimeter. So let's first of all find out what size holes we've got. And we'll just come in here and do the traditional, first turn it on. And are we in millimeters? Yes, we are. This one wants to measure out 11.56. So we'll write down 11.56. And this one wants to measure out at 11.61. And this one wants to measure out at 11.52. And the next one is coming in at 11.57. And then the 4 over here on the side that goes on the vehicle itself. This one's running. That's interesting. Okay, 11.56. And 11.54. And this one, I'll call it 11.58. And the last one is 11.51. It's clear these aren't all that standard in size. The bushing, as I said itself, is 12 millimeters. And so the procedure is to come in with a Dremel and use a cutoff wheel like this one and slot. Do I have one handier? Okay. If you look right here, you'll see there's a split on these, and you just cut into that slot and allow it to shrink down enough. So I need to know what the minimum cut I'm going to have to make to allow me to shrink the 12 millimeter bushings down to, shall we call it, how about 11.6? And that should be just a good snug fit in all of these holes. So anyway, I'm going to stop the video right here. I'm going to go do the math, and I'll be back in just the blink of your eye. It kept winking and blinking at me. That eye. Oh, sorry. Anyway, I'll be back in a few seconds. We're back. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so I could, of course, done the front side math easily. It's 0.4 millimeters. See? 0.4. Or in other words, about 16 thousandths. So the question is which cutoff we will use. We have a bigger one, which is, we're still playing in the metric here, and that's 1.14. So that's quite thick relative to what we need to cut off. And then we have the smaller, more delicate, dainty one, which is 0.85, which is about double what we need. But the good thing about these bushings is they'll be springy against the housing. So I think we'll cut them off using the thinner, smaller wheel. And that way put the micrometer away, or the caliper away, so it, when I drop it on the floor, it doesn't die. And so that way it'll be a little snugger in there. Snugger before you bugger, as the say. Can we say that out loud in this day and age? Anyway, so we're going to go with these thinner wheels. I got a mess of them, so if I break them all and shatter them and throw them all over the shop, who gives a rat's behind, I guess, is the best way to put that. And as I said, the fixture I'm going to use is this setup here, which this is that cheap Chinese 2-axis table I'm working on. I still have to finish up this axis. Right now I've got the Gibbs screws clamped to hold this thing just absolutely rigid. I also, as you can see, have a bolt garden over here. Yes, it's growing nicely. And I don't have to say, oh, nuts, about what's growing. Oh, bad. Anyway, but what we're going to do is take the new bushings, see, new bushings, and trap them between two of the old dead bushings so I can cut neatly and cleanly. And that bolt was bought specifically for this process. This is a eye bolt, by the way. There's an I under there. It's not an R or an E, it's an I bolt. But anyway, what we're going to do here is, if I can ever find the spot on the bag, this is one of the new bushings. Isn't it pretty? Look at the lovely lining and no rust, as opposed to these. These are actually some of the better ones, by the way. But anyway, and the setup will be unscrew the nut here. I bought this nut, this one, a little too long, but you know how that is. You just never think these things through. And where do I want to start cutting? I'm going to be cutting on this line right here, where these are just formed out of sheet metal. And I'm going to start cutting on that line. Do I want to come into this and cut across, or cut across this way? I think I'll start this way. And the whole purpose of the older bushings is just to give me a way to clamp it where I can get to it easily. And then I can adjust the angle so that when I come in with my Dremel. So let me go set up the Dremel, because I don't have it plugged in, of course. Think these things through beforehand, get everything set up. Yeah, right, sure. Just because, never mind. Anyway, I'll be back in a few. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and germs, or girl, whatever. We are now set up. This will be my first try on this. This ought to be interesting. Noise coming on, called the Dremel tool. You may want to mute or shut this up. I'm not going to be talking during the cutting phase anyway, but I'm not going to mute it either. So here we go. Well, that should give us the clearance to put that. Well, you know where that comes from, don't you? Clearance. What's our vector, Victor? You have the clearance. Nasty, silly movie. If you don't know it, it's Airplane. But first watch, what is it? 0 Hour, which is where they got the script. An absolutely serious movie that they didn't turn into a complete farce. But anyway, we now have the groove cut, and that should be small enough to allow for insert. Shall we find out? I am interested myself. I'm curious. Curious minds want to know. We'll put that there so it's harder to lose. Oh, give me this. Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. These go in, by the way, this way. Kind of wish I had a washer to push on this. And of course I didn't think to grab a wrench. I don't know. I'm going to have to see if that's going to actually work. Tell you what, guys, let me go play with this a bit and see if I can get the first one installed. And if I can, then let me develop the process, because you guys don't need to sit here and watch me beat my brains out, scream, pull out what little hair I have left, and so on. So I'll be back in a few, guys. Okay, so clearly my math skills are garbage. I'm an old fart, what do you expect? And that gap needs to be cut down just a little bit more, because this is really putting quite a lot of tension on, and it's still not sliding in. The setup is a nut through the whole thing. Getting that to focus. Anyway, so I'm going to pull this one. Sorry about bouncing the camera. This one back out, and I'm going to go to the thicker wheel, this wheel rod here, and see if it really makes a difference. So I'm going to reslot this one, and we'll see where we're going to end up. Be back in a few. Okay, so I slitted that, or enlarged the slit using that bigger wheel. As you can see now, that has brought it. Ever try to use 3 hands when you need 4? That's brought it down to a size where this is more likely to be pressable. So let me go ahead. This will just be, you get to look at it from this distance, I guess. Yeah, that's now going to press in with just the pressure here. And it is, as you can probably see, that gap is actually closed up. So this is actually a pretty good thing. So using these bigger, thicker wheels in the Dremel will seem to be the solution to this. And then these just press. These just press all the way in. All the way in. Oh, and maybe I'm running into a problem because, let me see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to press them all the way in when you're running up against the bushing itself. So I need something to allow me to space out a ways. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a socket or something on here that's big enough to let me slide this through. This is pretty much going to be the end of the video. But I do want to point out one other problem that's going to have to be resolved. If you look right here, you'll see that the grinding process has raised the plastic up a bit. And so that needs to be relieved away before you try and put the pins in, because otherwise the pins ain't going to fit. I do like the Zerk pins. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, again, thanks for patience. Again, the channel's Old Fart Hacks. Name's Marlin. If you like this, please consider giving me a like and perhaps even a subscribe if you find it useful. I know this video has been a little longer than my traditional ones. I try and keep them reasonably short. But the process of slotting them with the Dremel tool does allow these slightly oversized bushings. You can't get the real ones. The ones Ford used are custom size. but these are an off-the-shelf item. There's actually a couple of manufacturers for them, but they will fit in. And when all is said and done, your running board will be as good as new. I'll have this, the next video in this series will be me actually assembling these together with these and these for the final assembly. Then we'll grease them up and stick the thing back on the car and see if it goes up and down. Again, thanks for your patience, and I hope you found something useful in this series. Bye.